next trick we're going to be teaching roll over. Now for this one we need once again some great treats the dog is willing to work for, a clicker, or you could use a verbal marker if you prefer. And I'm also going to use a blanket. The floor here is pretty hard and slippery, and if that's the case, it might be a bit helpful for the dog to have a bit of a blanket. All right. All right, so we're going to come on the floor for this one. Again, I'm going to have my treats and my clicker in my left hand, and I'm going to lay out the blanket. Okay, and I'll move the dog so you can see her. And she's going to go into a down automatically on the blanket. That's just something we've taught. If yours doesn't, if you haven't taught that yet, you're just going to have the dog in a down, cue them, or you can lure them into a down to start the trick. So our first step is going to be taking a little piece of food as a lure. We're going to go up behind the dog's head. And if you get any kind of weight shift like I did, where she rolled onto her hip, you're going to click that. Come here, puppy. Come on, you. Come here. Good girl. Yeah. Okay, so once again we have the dog in a down on the mat, or it could just be on the floor if you have carpet or if it's comfortable enough for her. Treats and clicker ready. Taking my lure low and just behind her head towards her hip. I'm going to do a few of those. Whoops. Marking right as I get a little bit of movement. Now as that looks good, I'm going to pull the treat a little farther over her back, and she's going to start to have to move a little farther to get it. There we go. These are all little increments of the roll. Good girl. Now we've got halfway. Let's see. Good girl. There it is. Good job. And eventually we get the whole roll. So let's try that again. Now she's rolled onto her other hip, which would make rolling over harder. So I'm going to lure again until we're on the right hip. And low, just over her hip. And she would like to get that. There we go, on her side. And we'll go a little bit farther. Good girl! And that's our rollover right there. Good job. The next thing we're going to do is fade the lure. So we just have our hand. Now she might not be quite ready for this yet, but let's try. Oops. Oh, halfway. That's cute. That's cute. Okay, break. All right, our next step is to fade the lure out. And she might not be quite ready for this yet, but we'll see where we are. So starting out with the lure and getting the roll. Good girl. I'm going to bring her back and put her in a down. Good girl. And now let's try without the lure. And we'll go just part way. Again, we've made it a little bit harder. No lure again. And she's going to offer the opposite way. So we're gonna work on that a little bit more. Okay, our next trick we're going to teach is going to be soccer. For this one, we need, as usual, some tasty treats the dog's willing to work for, a clicker or some kind of event marker. We're also going to need a soccer ball, a little piece of paper or cardstock, and some tape. Now, this behavior is going to be eventually the dog pushing the soccer ball with her nose. Okay, we're going to start with our first step, which will be having the dog target the piece of paper with her nose. Now, if your dog is used to targeting things with their nose, like your hand, this will probably come pretty quickly. If not, it might be a little slower. We're going to use capturing. So we're going to take our clicker and our treats in our left hand, our little piece of paper in our right hand. I'll move her so you can see her. Hi. Good girl. Okay, and I'm just going to present it close to her nose. And she's going to offer me a target. Again, she's had a lot of experience offering nose targets, so your dog might be a little bit slower. Generally, when you put something in front of their face, they're going to go to sniff it. And so that's what you would mark at the beginning until you're getting a more solid touch. So that's step one. Good girl. With our next step, what we're going to do is lower, actually let's not do that. Good girl. All right, for our next step, we're going to take our little piece of paper and actually tape it onto the soccer ball. So, treats and clicker in our left hand again. And I'm going to show this, present this to the dog high up, kind of the same we were before. You see, she's not quite as confident this time because it looks different. But she's getting the idea. Good girl. So up high with the target facing the dog on the soccer ball. And we're getting those nose targets. Our next step is to start to lower the soccer ball down a little bit at a time. Our goal is to eventually get to the floor. Good girl. Try a little lower. If she's not hitting right on the target anymore, that's okay. I'll take her touching anywhere on the soccer ball because that's where we're going eventually anyway. You'll see there I put it all the way to the floor and she offered her paw, so that was a little too fast. Good girl. Our next step, once we have the ball on the floor, is to remove the target. So we'll help her warm up a little bit. Good girl. I'm going to ignore any of those paw touches because I want the nose. Good girl. And then I'm just going to pop off the target. Perfect. And there she did it anyway. There, I got a little bit of paw, so I'll ignore that. Good, and I'm just taking the nose targets. Good girl. All right, and our final step is going to be putting the behavior on cue. So once she's reliably giving us the nose target, to the ball. Good girl. We're gonna add the cue. So right before she does it, I'm gonna say, play ball. Good girl. Play ball. Good girl. Play ball. Good girl. And that's our soccer.